Okay, we just finished kind of setting up your time interval class. Now we are going to click on Unit 2 projects, create a new class, and work on the driver. So I'm going to name it Time Interval Driver. This will include a main. So click on that, say finish. Try to get into the habit of deleting this little piece of code out. Some of you have been forgetting that, and it should be kind of cleaned up. Your code should be self-documenting, so you are not going to have to include a whole lot of documentation if it is self-documenting. Above here, you want to put your header, integrity header, name, etc. And then because you are to use the scanner class, if we go and look at the assignment, it says the driver should read in from the console 2 military times and a pay rate. And so I'm going to copy that as just my little bit of a hint to use. And then when I'm all done, I didn't do it on the previous example, but I delete all this out. But it's there just kind of help me so I don't have to keep switching back and forth. So because I need to input from the console, I need a scanner. And this is still a pretty kind of new idea for some of you. And so the scanner class is what allows us to get input from the console. So whenever you use a scanner object, we just do scanner in, and we're going to do a new scanner and system.in, and there's nothing there that usually changes. In isn't anything special there. I just like to use in because it means input for me. And then likewise, you should always do a prompt. So system.out.print and tell the user what you want them to input. So for example here, please input your start time for their shift. Please notice that I used a print rather than a print line. That way the data will be, or the input will be like a blinking cursor on the end of that line. Now, I'm going to create a variable on the fly. And so this is going to be our start time. And you can name it start or start time. Might be a little bit more appropriate. And it's going to input from the keyboard the next integer that it reads in. So since I'm reading in an integer, it's going to be in.nextInt. And you will do other statements very similar to this. I would probably just copy and paste that line of code to follow suit. You're going to input your end time, and you're going to input your, looks like your pay rate. So you need to write code to input end time and pay rate. Now, since pay rate is a double, rather than using .nextInt, you'll need to use .nextDouble. After that, just to kind of get you set up a little bit more, you're going to want to create a time interval object. And this is kind of tricky because sometimes you want to create your time interval object appear right away, right after you do scanner, but you really can't because you have to use your input in order to create this time interval object. So when I create the time interval object, remember it's supposed to take in 3 arguments. There is no default constructor according to these instructions. So you have start time, and you'll probably have something like end time, and you'll have your pay rate. Now, it's going to yell at me because I haven't actually created or used those variables, so it's not going to like that. But because my constructor takes 3 arguments, you have to wait to actually create the object here. Then, to do the rest of the output, or to get the rest of your output, you could use your couple different ways that you could do this. But for example, let's say I want to get the hours in order to print in an output statement. You can use x.getHours. This also, if your IntelliSense pops up and shows you this, that gives you a clue that you've actually written part of your class correctly, if that pops up. You'll do likewise code to get your minutes and to get your pay. And then you'll want to output. So your final output statements, not anything fancy right now, but just system.out.println. And so, for example, it might look something like time on task, I believe is what we're supposed to have, is assigned, quote, and then concatenate hours. Please make sure that you put in the units for that. And then after that, you will also then output the minutes, etc. And you can use escape sequences to do some of that printing and get things kind of formatted, and etc. You don't have to do the formatting right now to get all the dollar signs and the appropriate number of decimal points at this point. Just some generic kind of output should be fine. The error message here is probably going to tell me I have an invalid escape sequence. Whoops, forgot my /n there for a return. Okay. And then it's yelling here because minutes has not been declared, so it's not liking that. But this should actually get you set up and get you going and should allow you to finish Unit 2, Assignment 2 in good order. Good luck.